It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by Agile Dad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started.
It is about that time for me to do a full report on where I've been for the past several days. So, I'm currently at the Project Summit Business Analyst World Conference out in Boston, Massachusetts. And let me tell you, this is by far, hands down, one of the best project management conferences that I've ever been to. It feels like each of the different speakers that have an opportunity to hear and to attend their workshops and their sessions. One of the things I'm taking away is that this group really goes out of their way to bring in the most prolific premier speakers. Now, in just a few short hours, I'm going to be presenting my keynote presentation at the conference. And the keynote presentation is entitled The Three Keys to Seeking and Embracing Success. And it goes on to discuss how success is defined, how we define success as individuals, and how we can identify three keys to help us in our personal and professional careers to increase our ability to be successful in all of our endeavors. Now, one of the things that I want to make sure I point out is that each individual needs to apply these three keys in different ways. And of course, the first key is to have a firm foundation, something to stand on, something to believe in, something to develop, something to call your own. The second key has to do with having a story to tell. Now, a story to tell doesn't necessarily mean that you have a story that you're trying to tell. It means that you have a legacy that you're leaving behind, that you have a story that's relevant, that people can understand and relate to and say, yeah, that makes sense. And that's where I want to be, right? I want to be part of that story. And the easiest way for me to express this is I ask people all the time, if you had the ability to have great grandchildren, would they remember who you are? What legacy are you leaving behind? What story are you trying to tell? Who is going to have impact based on the things that you've done in your lifetime? Will anyone even know who you are? And I think that's a relevant question. And then, of course, the third key is to set a goal, a realistic goal that's just outside of your reach. Now, many of you who know me have heard me speak about Randy Pouch. He's an Imagineer who passed away from pancreatic cancer. And it's amazing to see just how powerful the human mind can be. I mean, even at his last lecture, he electrified the room with the conversations he had about his dreams and how he wanted to achieve his dreams and what his dreams were and how he could drive for those to become true. But one thing that stood out to me the most was a comment that he made during his presentation. And the comment was, of all things, it was regarding brick walls. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but he had a way of metaphorically speaking about many things. And here's the quote, the best I remember. He said, "The brick walls are not there to keep us out. The brick walls are there to give us a chance to show how badly we really want something." And he kind of tied the Kool-Aid Man reference to it. Are we willing to run through a wall to get to where we need to be? To get to where we need to be. And I can tell you, there have been times where I was just too tired to run through a wall. But there are other times where, Kool-Aid Man, here I come. I was, oh yeah, and I was just ready to go, right? But I think that even with those three keys, to make sure that you understand and have a solid foundation, to make sure you've got a good story to tell and that you're trying to leave a legacy, and that you're setting a goal that's comfortably out of reach. There, that's the easiest way to explain it. So it's just enough to help you work a little bit harder. Then you need to say, okay, those are the three things that I need in my life to help me be driven and to help me get to where I need to go. But what are some of the things that I can do professionally to help me get there? And that is often the missing link, if you will. And the three keys professionally are the three M's. Now, these three M's are a very, very popular set of three M's, but I'm going to give them to you again because just in case you missed them, here are the three M's. The first one is master or mastery. And this has to do with mastering your skill set, finding the things or attributes or qualities that you're good at and amplifying those, finding ways to capitalize on how you do things and what you think and how you process information, and being able to exemplify that information to others. Mastery is not always easy, right? So, whether you're someone who is a frontline worker who is mastering your frontline skill, whether you are a parent who is mastering parenting and skill sets of parenting, or whether you are a supervisor in a workplace and you're trying to master relationship building so that you can have closer knit relationships with all those people who work for you, all of these fall under the mastery category. Another way to look at mastery has to do with talents, and this is kind of interesting. If you can figure out the things that you're the most talented at, it's a good idea to go out of your way to make sure that you master those talents, that you figure out how you can optimize and make those the absolute best talents you can be, because the talents you share are the talents that are going to even grow further, right? The talents you hide are the talents that go away. Okay, that leads us to our second M. Our second M has to do with mentorship. Now, this is interesting because you often hear me say, when you lose yourself in the service of others, that's when you find out who you really are. So, uplifting someone else, guiding them, helping them to be successful. And the more successful they become, the more positively it reflects on you. So, there's a lot of benefit, a lot of upside from doing this mentorship piece. But the problem is, many times I don't want to say fail to mentor, but many times when we try to mentor, we always say we don't have time, or we carve out too little time to make it effective, or we try to do things for the other person instead of mentoring them and letting them do some heavy lifting. And the truth is, in order for mentorship to be effective, you need to be there as a support, as a beacon, as a light, but you also have to allow other people to take on the challenges and to do some of that heavy lifting so that you can be the system of record for support to that individual. And then, of course, the third key, the M, is making a difference. And this is my favorite one. No matter what you do, you should always look for ways to make a difference in people's professional and personal lives. You should ask yourself, what can I do to make my team's life better? Or what could I do to make my family's life better? What could I do to enhance my relationship with my spouse, with my partner, with my significant other, whoever that might be? What can I do to build better friendships and relationships? And, challenge yourself to think outside of the box and to do hard things, because when we do hard things, when we face our finest fire and we do hard things, that's what helps us grow. And I think the key to all of this, using the key metaphor one more time, is that we understand what grow really means. That grow is all about setting proper goals. It's about understanding what those goals are, what are we trying to achieve, why are we trying to get there, those kind of things. Understanding our reality and how far away it is from that goal, so that we can establish, is the reality such a chasm away from the goal that there's no way we'll ever achieve it? Or is that goal within our reach? So that's the reality. And then finally, you have the opportunities or options. So, what are our options to get there? So that we can assess each one and make a good decision about which direction we really feel like we need to go. And then finally is the W, and that stands for will. And it's, what will you commit to do? What we commit to do today? How will we kick this off? What will you commit to do to make life better? What will you commit to do to press forward? And this is the most important of the four, because if you figure out how to lock people into a commitment and how to figure out what people are going to do, that's when you can go back to the teams and say, okay, well, not only did I get buy in, but I got them to commit to taking the first step. And I think that when you're talking about leadership, or vice versa, when you go to the leadership and say, hey, I got the team to agree to these conditions, it helps everyone along and helps people along the way to really just embrace and understand what we're trying to do. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. And I'm going to invite you, if you have a topic you want us to discuss, feel free to reach out to us, learn more at agiledad.com. We'd love to talk about your topic. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.